happening, YouTube? It's your homie Akuma coming back at you with another video. And today's video is all about a deck profile for Major Shockwave. As you can see, he's accompanied here by Raider Aimless and Raider Detour. Major Shockwave seems like a very good card. He does something that no other bot does in the game so far, and very interesting to see where I can, where any player can possibly take him, and hopefully into competitive play, because he seems very powerful. 17 attack, 3 defense, and 6 attack, and then he's a 7. Okay, let me reverse that. He's a 6-17-3 in alt mode, and then a 7-17-2 in bot mode. So very strong, nice base stats. And so I played the deck originally with, well, double Shockwave. I guess I'll start with that. And if you look in the live stream, it just, again, I think I won game 1 against my friend, my boy Maurice, but like game 2 and 3. The flips were just awkward. Rollouts were awkward. The multi-mission gears, like the dream was to, have both Shockwaves in bot mode and then roll out them both to alt mode. We both draw 2, and then I draw another card, and then you discard the card. Then I play multi-mission gear, flip Shockwave back to bot mode, and then play multi-mission gear, and then play system reboot, make us discard our whole hands, draw 4, and then Shockwave's effect makes you, take how many ever cards you discarded in damage, 1 each. So very gimmicky. Maybe it was just my build, it's my first build, version 1.0. But so yeah, version 2 will be with Raider Aimless and Raider Detour. Now, over Raider Aimless initially, and I think most people started with this, is Flame War. But with your first turn, let's say even if you're going second, well, your opponent can't attack Detour. They're probably not going to attack Shockwave, because Shockwave will get a sizable amount of defense on the attack, and him having 17 health, he's definitely not getting KO'd, or not even really a dent in an attack on him. So the only logical and optimal target is probably Flame War, and even in like with 3-wide Optimus, another blue deck. Hot Rod will probably still get in there for 1 or 2 damage, and it just doesn't seem ideal. Even when you go first to flip Flame War, you're not going to, first of all, you're definitely not going to flip Shockwave and attack with Shockwave first. You're not going to flip Flame War and attack with Shockwave first. You're not going to flip Flame War and attack with Detour, and then you're not going to not flip Flame War, and you know what I mean? Like, it just doesn't, your first turn seems very awkward with Flame War. Now, you do get 2 star cards with this. It's 23 stars. You're able to play 2 Leap of Faith. Leap of Faith seems very good because since you're able to look at the top card of your deck at any time, you can play the Leap of Faith exactly when you want to, not just randomly. Like Field Communicator, well, I guess Field Communicator also isn't random anymore in this version, because you're always able to look at the top card of your deck. But just in general, like aerial bots, you play Field Communicator and hope to hit Infernal Breath, or bigger they are, or whatever. But with Leap of Faith, you're able to initially activate it for sure whenever you want to see that bigger they are, or UFO, or whatever, off the Gamma laser launcher off the top of your deck. And then whatever second card you flip is just icing on the cake, and hopefully it's just a great card as well, or a good card to play for the turn being as well. So yeah, that's really all there is to say about that. Flame War, the opening turn is just very weak, having to flip her as well. So that's why I decided on Aimless. And I will say with Aimless, yes, he is very sturdy, and it's going to be hard to kill him, but that's fine. I want him to die late game, if anything, and possibly put him on Shockwave late game. Like, even if I have 2 Gamma launchers on Shockwave, I'd rather have 10 attack with a possibility to deal 3 damage to an enemy than 11 attack and no extra effect. So I'd rather, like I said, have him live throughout the game, so that way on the wheel turn I can have a reliable target to go send in again, on the wheel turn, because again, he's very sturdy with his tough 3. And more importantly, I think what's very strong versus Flame War is, if your opponent goes first, they're not going to attack Detour. They're probably not going to attack Raider Aimless. And if they attack Shockwave, Shockwave's going to just brush it off. It's no big deal, most likely. And even if, like Lionizer attacks with his Bold 4, seems scary until he's only flipping like 6, and then Shockwave flips 5, or even maybe 6, and matches it, and then their first attack was, wasted or not as valuable. So if I go first, I can flip Detour and then attack with Aimless. And that's very strong, because of course Aimless most likely isn't going to die on their first turn, because they can only play 1 action or 1 upgrade, and they probably won't try to go kill it anyway to give Shockwave early weapon. And so yeah, the next turn I could possibly either attack with the Detour or use Detour's effect to discard a blue, like a Handheld Blaster or whatever, to, you know, draw 2 cards and dig deeper into my deck to play some of Shockwave's interesting tricks. So with that, there's nothing more to really say about the bots, and I think this makes the most sense in terms of, like I said, Aimless being in bot mode and not having a flip, and this is just Shockwave 2.0 for me, and you know, I'll just keep building and doing. I do a lot of solitaire right now, but you know, when my boy comes over, definitely get some more games in with him, see how it does versus orange, other blue decks, and go from there. But for now, let's get into the deck profile. All right, guys. So first up, we have, of course, 3 security checkpoint, very powerful card, one of the best cards in the game right now. Taking multiple upgrades out of your opponent's hand will be very valuable. This deck is it's like half. Okay, I won't say half. It's very controlling just in general, and having this card is, you know, always very powerful. If you can hit 2 or more upgrades out of your opponent's hand, you're just slowing them down. This deck is all about trying to slow your opponent down while gaining very slow incremental damage while dealing damage at the same time, and, you know, gaining advantage over your opponent. And then, of course, the double blue icons, you know, it's just one of the best cards in the game for sure. Next up, we have one of the new cards, 3 Unconventional Flying Object, UFO. Of course, the only target is Shockwave, but that's the only target you need. His powerful effect in his alt mode, when you flip to this mode, you draw a card and then your opponent scraps a card. This keeps a lot of pressure on your opponent's hand, and very great to play this, you know, flip him to bot mode and flip him back to alt mode, get his effect, and then you can also flip him back to bot mode again. And let's say you have a launcher, Gamma launcher on top of your deck, you could play that launcher or play whatever, and you know, having this as an extension of your hand is very powerful. Similar kind of sort of like Sentinels, how Sentinels have their KO area and it's an extension of their hand. You know, you have those 3 different effects in your hand. Look at them as 3 extra cards in your hand. So yeah, very powerful, and I like this card a lot. Next up, we have, starting with our secret actions, we have 3 Battlefield Report. Now, you can't not play this card. I mean, Shockwave's on the card, right? So this card is very nice because you can dig 2 cards into your deck and stack a, you know, useless double blue or whatever on top of your deck, or use this card in general, something that you're not using for that part of the game state. And you can use this off Shockwave's alt mode or bot mode effect, and you're also able to, well, not okay, I take that back. So yeah, that's the main thing. That's one of the main things. It's a secret action that you're able to play off of his effect. What's also nice is if you have, I play other secret actions in the deck as well. So if you set a secret action on your turn and then you also have this, you're not limited to only playing 1 secret action on your opponent's turn. So if you have, you know, one of your other secret actions and this, you can play this as well and, you know, get the effect, and this is a +1 at that point. Otherwise, when you set this, is a break even, but it's a good break even because you get a card on defense that your opponent can't interrupt, and then it's just an overall good card for this deck. Next up, we have 3 Reclaim. Now, Reclaim is a very nice card. I will talk more in depth about this card later on, but initially I would like to say I did not realize that, and yeah, okay, you can see that pretty good. If you look right here in the text, you can see that symbol. That's a Decepticon symbol. It came in the Devastator structure deck. I swear I did not realize, since I've been playing this game even, that there was a Autobot Autobot or Decepticon symbol in the background. So that's what that pretty much means for a Decepticon card. Like Scowls Blaster is an Autobot faiiled if you look in the back, or like Field Repair, I think that's another one that's an Autobot card. And yeah, so Reclaim is a Decepticon card, so that's very powerful because you can use it with Shockwave's effect and get back some of your powerful upgrades on top of your deck, and then flip Shockwave and draw that upgrade that you just put back on top of your deck, and then make your opponent discard a card. Seems very good. Got to play 3 of it because it's a Decepticon card. So far for Decepticon / secret actions to trigger off Shockwave's effect, we have 6. Next up, we have 3 The Bigger They Are. You don't want your Aimless and Raider Detour just, you know, I mean, they're your support characters, but you also want to try to get in some damage with them when you can. If you have this on top of your deck and your Shockwave is in bot mode, you can flip Shockwave back to alt mode, draw this The Bigger They Are, and then play The Bigger They Are on one of your characters and get some incremental damage on your opponent's bots. And next up I think that's it for my 3 ofs. Okay, so next up for my 2 ofs, we have for more secret actions, 2 Infiltrate. Infiltrate is my favorite card in the set, and very powerful. Now the thing is, of course, if you're playing against a blue deck, you'll just get rid of it for a, you know, green icon card, or better yet, you'll get rid of it with Detour's effect. So, you know, and then you'll side these out game 2 or 3 versus a blue deck. and go from there. But I think it's necessary, for one, because there's not enough secret actions or the good Decepticon cards that I want to play in the game right now. So if you are playing against an orange deck and you have this on top of your deck, I think whether you set this or have this on top of your deck is very powerful. Remember, Peace Through Tyranny on Lionizer is a very powerful play that's going to come up, and it's probably going to be the most played, the most valuable play until we get Wave 4. I think you won't see, there's no way you won't hear about a Peace Through Tyranny on the Lionizer. That's going to be the play of, definitely, of this wave. So if you have Infiltrate on top of your deck to play off Shockwave's effect, very powerful. Or even if you have to set it, either way is definitely very powerful to midgetate what your opponent's doing. Again, like I said, if you're playing against an orange deck, it's very powerful. If you're playing against a blue deck, you'll just get rid of it for Detour's bot mode effect or one of your green icon cards. And that brings us up to 8 Decepticon cards. Next up for our disruption, we have a Disruptive Entrance. Now, this card is very powerful in conjunction with a weapon I'm going to show you later. Of course, you know what weapon that is, most likely. But very powerful to get rid of your opponent's Peace Through Tyranny or whatever they have that they're trying to plan. Even more importantly, press the advantage. I might actually up this card to 3. And it's just very powerful in conjunction with Shockwave's effect. If you have this card, you know, you activate it, make them discard an action. Or it might actually be better to flip this first. No, it won't. You play this first or whatever to see. It depends on the game state and how many cards they have in hand, I guess. But, you know, looking at your opponent's hand, taking press the advantage, Peace Through Tyranny, you know, Supercharge, Reckless Charge, any of those cards are definitely very strong. And, yeah, sorry for the brain fart for a second. There's a card that's supposed to be in my deck profile that's not, and I will have to add it and have to, it's kind of awkward now. But, yeah. So, well, actually, no, it's not that awkward. So, another brain fart. I just lost my train of thought. Forgive me, guys. Okay, so yeah, Disruptive Entrance, like I said, very powerful in conjunction with Shockwave's effect. And this is semi-hand control, so it's nice to get rid of some of your opponent's cards. So, and I'll talk about it right now instead of talking about it at the end of the video. And see if I can find one real quick. Somewhere. Give me a second, yo. It's supposed to be in here, and I just kind of like overlooked it for whatever reason. Shouldn't have, but okay. So I have 2 Frag Toss in here. Now, there's not a lot of direct damage in the deck. It is a Decepticon card, though. But the problem I have with this card is, especially if you're playing against a deck that's playing a Battle Master. Is it? Yeah, Battle Master. When you play Frag Toss, what it does is you choose... Yeah, your opponent chooses one of their characters and does 1 to it. And if your starting team was only Decepticons, your opponent does 1 more damage to the chosen character. So if they have Lionizer, if they have Aimless, if they have Paraxodon, or however you say his name... any of those cards, they're just going to put the 2 damage on that character because they really want that card to die most likely anyway. So it doesn't seem very good for that fact. Of course, it gets very strong late game because if they have, you know, if it's just Shockwave versus one other character, then it's very strong because they have to put the 2 damage on that character. So playing this off the top of your deck or having it in your hand is simply just a Plasma Burst. And so, yeah. But the card that I forgot while I'm doing this deck profile, one of these Frag Toss I think will actually be a Callous Leadership. Your Shockwave is a leader, and then he meets the requirement. He has more than 8 stars, and then, you know, as throughout the game, as your Shockwave takes damage, you'll play Callous Leadership, and most likely, you know, either KO your Aimless or put it close to being KO'd and heal your Shockwave some, so he, you know, can go toe to toe some more. So with that being said, yeah, my apologies. This should have been a Callous Leadership, and it will be. You know, like I said, Frag Toss is okay. It's a Decepticon card. That's really the main reason why it's in here, because you can play it off the top. But it's only stronger. It gets stronger late game, early game, especially if they're playing Battle Masters. It is weaker. But yeah. So 1 Frag Toss, 1 Callous Leadership, and then for my last secret action, I'm playing Hiding Spot. So when you're tapped out and your opponent loads up their Wheeljack, you know, let's say they play Grenade Launcher, Reckless Charge, or they have the Saber on Wheeljack and play Reckless Charge or whatever. And, you know, Wheeljack's definitely coming in for a kill. Well, when they go to attack, make sure, and this is going to be something that's going to be very, not controversial, but very, it's going to take a while for people, even myself, to get used to. When you tap to attack, normally when you tap to attack, you know, I usually say, okay, Shockwave attack, tap to attack, so-and-so. Well, if I talk too fast, if I say Shockwave, or if I say, excuse me, Wheeljack attack into X character, well, it's like, okay, well, I wasn't sure who you were going to attack, so now I'm going to flip Hiding Spot and put stealth on that character and make you attack someone else. So in that person's head, the Wheeljack player, they had an agenda to try to go most likely KO that character. But since they jumped the gun and went to attack with the wheeljack into that character, well, now you technically flip it's not your fault that they jumped the gun. So, you can flip the hiding spot and call stealth on that character. Now they have to attack another character. So what I'm really getting at in general is, as soon as your opponent taps to attack, I would flip the hiding spot. So you kind of have to have a reflex with this until people get used to doing it properly, and just saying, I tap to attack. Do you have a response? If they say yes, you flip hiding spot. Okay. If they say no, then you do whatever else and trigger the secret action when the time calls for it. So yeah, hiding spot is nice to play off the top when your Shockwave is finally tapped and they go for an attack. Especially like, let's say they play press the advantage and target Shockwave. Now you can play hiding spot, flip it, and now they can't attack Shockwave. So the Shockwave does have the -2 defense, but now they have to attack into one of your other characters. Now I'm only playing one right now. I'm thinking about playing two, but see it as a blank icon on defense. It's Pierce, and it helps the Pierce with the little guys to get some type of damage in. It's one of those cards like one shall stand, one shall fall that you just play because the card is so powerful. But it also does get weaker late game, because as these characters finally get KO'd, of course you have nothing to hide from with Shockwave because he's the only character on the field. All right. And then moving on, and I think that was 22 actions. Moving on to the upgrades, 3 Handheld Blaster. Not too much to say about this. I think I'm playing 1 orange card in the deck, so I will almost never flip this card unless I play this card unless I absolutely knew that the 1 orange card was still in my deck and I needed to hit that in order to win the game, which is like 1%. That'll almost never happen. Probably less than 1% that I'll actually ever do that. So of course it's just in here for the blue icons. You can get rid of it for rated Detour. You can stack it for Battlefield Report, and that's about it. Next up, one of the best cards in the deck. Of course, we have Shockwave's LV Gamla Disruptor Launcher. This card is very good. You play it, and you make your opponent scrap a card from their hand. Of course, the ideal play with this card is to have Shockwave, not ideal, but what's really nice and powerful is to flip Shockwave to his alt mode, make your opponent discard a card, and then play the LV launcher, and then make them discard another card. So you're giving them very little options every turn when they play. And especially in your opening turn, if you do open with this card, instead of flipping Detour, you don't always have to necessarily flip Detour. It's not like a muscle reflex where it's okay, flip Detour, attack with Aimless. You could flip the Shockwave, attack with Aimless, and then they attack you on your next turn. You could potentially flip the Shockwave back if you have this card in your hand and make your opponent discard 2 cards. So seems very powerful, very good card. Of course, you could have 2 of these in his armor slot, making him 11 attack. You can only put on Shockwave, but definitely very powerful card. Next up, we have 2 more Decepticon cards. We have 2 Scowls Blaster. It's mainly in here to play off of Shockwave's effect to give to Detour or Aimless. Autobots are still the most played decks in the in the meta right now. So if you're playing against like aerial bots, you can get one of these on your smaller bots, and they can at least get that Pierce 2 in. And then coming up, speaking of Pierce, one of the best equipments from the set, Laser Cutlass. Now this card is very powerful, but you can only put on 7-star or lower characters, and it gives them +1 attack and Pierce 3. So of course this only goes on Aimless or Raider Detour, but if you can find one of these, or if you can better yet reclaim, if you can get a reclaim in your hand or off the on top of your deck to play off Shockwave's effect, you can reclaim the Laser Cutlass to the top of your deck and then flip this and then draw the Laser Cutlass and then play it on your character. And of course you can do this with, you'll probably never do it with Scowls Blaster unless that's the only upgrade in your graveyard, but you can also do it with the LV launcher as well, which is really nice. It seems very powerful. So only 2, because all 3 of my characters aren't 7 stars or lower, and you can always recur it back from the graveyard with reclaim, or off of Shockwave's effect for reclaim. And then next up for my weapons, I'm playing 2 Armed Hovercraft. Now, like I mentioned earlier with Frag Toss, this deck is weak, or not weak. This deck is very low on direct damage. I don't know if I'm really going to need direct damage. Aimless is technically direct damage by himself in the late game because of his effect. But the Armed Hovercraft, my theory with this card is he's the only ranged character. Of course, Raider Detour and Shockwave are both specialists. On both modes. But the thing with Aimless, it's like if he's not going to die for a while, well then the Armed Hovercrafts can come into play. Maybe not necessarily against orange decks, but it'll definitely help against blue decks. And the fact that the same play, like I said with Laser Cut, any weapon, or any upgrade in general, you can play Reclaim to stack this on top of your deck, and then flip Shockwave back to draw the card, make your opponent discard a card, and then play the Armed Hovercraft and, you know, deal that damage. Now, this play seems very powerful against aerial bots. The fact that you can just get this back at will as long as you have reclaimed anyway, you know, especially if you draw this, that's even better, because if you draw this, you can play it, and then on another turn you can play Laser Cutlass over this, put this in the graveyard actively, and then, you know, play reclaim, and then flip Shockwave back to alt mode to put the Armed Hovercraft back on top of your deck and then use it again later. So the fact that Aimless is not going to die for a while is the reason why I'm playing this. I might cut down to 1, but again, this is just theory and how I'm playing it for now. And then that's it for the weapons. Next up we have, so my weapon count is, normally with weapons you see 3 reinforced plating, 2 sparring gear in blue decks. That's what most blue decks usually have played, but I think reinforced plating is now outclassed by these rock, paper, scissors armors. The thing about reinforced plating is, of course, you never, well, in Smoke Cloak as well, but talking about the rock, paper, scissors armors, sturdy armor, covert armor, and reckless, or not, what's the other one? Reflex circuits. So tough 2 is essentially just 2 defense. Now, of course, that skews a little higher when you flip your handheld blasters or security checkpoints, or if you flip a white to extend into more flips. But overall, especially if you defend against a ranged character, you get another defense. So you already have that tough 2 within the card itself. You don't have to hope to flip anything. You don't, you know, if you flip, well, how do I want to say it? Well, no, that's irrelevant. But like a card like a W5 Gyro Blaster or Warpath or any of those cards, well, this card helps to not have to deal with the... Now, of course, Raider Aimless is tough, will be turned off against, you know, cards like that. But you're kind of getting away from tough, and I think you want to move to be ahead of the game in terms of... you know, where the meta is going. And I think, like I said, reinforced plating is outclassed now because it doesn't have a green icon. You can't get it. So I think this card will be very good. I was playing 3 at one point, or I had 3 before the deck profile, but I only have 2 specialists. And whenever I see this card, I'm going to prioritize putting it on Shockwave. I'm most likely never going to put it on Detour unless I get a second one. So I'm only playing 2 for now. And then I'm playing 1 sparring gear to, now I said I'm getting away from tough, but not all the way from tough. If I can draw it early or have it early, I can put it on Detour and have Detour even survive some more attacks. And, you know, if my opponent's attacking in the Detour and trying to kill it, I'm fine, because that means they're not attacking in the Shockwave. So, only 3 armors. And then last but not least, to round out the 40 cards, 3 Field Communicator. Now, I feel like this deck's not complete without this card, especially because you can play it from Shockwave's effect, being able to see the top card of your deck. You know, you see the bigger they are, play this card. You see the Gamma Laser or Gamma Launcher, play this card. And the list goes on and on. It seems very powerful, and... You know, I have 2 specialists, but definitely want to play 3 of these to try to see one as soon as you can. And again, you know, just looking at the top card of your deck at any time. If you have him in this mode, you know, you can flip him to alt mode to draw this card. Look at the top card of your deck again. If it's a good card, play the Field Communicator, flip that card, play. You know, it just seems like you have so many different ways to control the game. And I'm very excited to test this deck out. And that's really all I have for this deck profile. So I appreciate you hanging here with me. Forgive me for my brain fart earlier, but yeah, side decking and all that, you know, I'm not sure yet. You know, I have 11 stars to work with if I side these out, and I'll probably it seems ideal to side back into Shockwave. If I can figure out a better build for a double Shockwave build, like I'll probably, you know, side deck obviously 3 system reboot, a 3rd, you know, sturdy armor. I don't know. I'm not 100% sure yet. It might not even be Shockwave, but that's like my first initial thought of doing that. As you can see, there's no Energon axes in here. There are no Energon axes simply because it's not a Decepticon card. At least the Scowls Blaster is a Decepticon card, and your other weapons, I think I'd rather have Laser Cutlass than Energon axe on my characters. And then plus the fact that I have the weight to their damage. That's always been the, you know, the drawback of the card. But any of these weapons, I'm able to just play on my character right away. And I was gonna say something else, but yeah, I think that's it. So yeah, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed the deck profile. I appreciate you guys being here with me. This is Shockwave 2.0 for me, and I will try to get some testing in with it soon. I'm excited to play it. I hope it becomes meta. You know, it'll be similar to Sentinels, how Sentinels, you know, can strip your hand and then also hit hard. This is on the other side. It's kind of like keeps you off of cards, but then you have a big guy that if you don't have options, enough options to, you know, deal some damage to Shockwave, he's not gonna die for a while. And the fact that, you know, you have your weapons and stuff to hit them hard while they're trying to figure out ways to hit you back hard with not as many cards in hand seems very powerful. So with that, I'm gonna end with that in this video and deck profile. I hope you guys enjoyed. I appreciate you guys being here as always, and you guys have a great day, great night whenever you're catching this video, and I'll catch you guys in my next video. All right, this is S. Akuma heading out. Peace.